The hell? Oh, now it's on. Good.
Pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I call the Village of Massena Board of Trustees meeting for November 19, 2019 to order. Roll call. Ms. Winston.
Present.
Mr. Carvel. Here. Mr. Deshays.
Here.
Mr. LeBeer.
Here.
I am here. Entertain a motion for the meeting minutes approval for January 15, January 28, February 19, March 19, April 2, April 4, April 9, all of 2019.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer.
Second.
Second by Ms. Winston. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reports of officers and committees. Treasurer's report. Mr. Felt.
Everyone. You should have received in your boxes downstairs, balance sheet, budget reports, and the projections. They have been distributed out to everybody. So if you have any questions, let me know. Department heads as well have them. Number two, the comptroller's office sent out their pension system bill for the current year. The amount due December 15th is $457,607 for the ERS, which is a 4.2% decrease from last year, and $401,316 for the PFRS, the police, which is about a 0.4% increase from last year. By utilizing the prepayment to pay for it in December versus waiting until when it's the normal bill is due, we can save $7,294 by prepaying it in December, which anticipation is still able to do that. Number three, while we would typically receive the AIM payments in September, we did not this year because of the way that it was structured in the governor's budget this year. They restructured that. Now it's going through the counties as a withholding from sales tax. So sat in on a webinar, and they are going to be withholding it from the sales tax disbursements that the counties would normally get. New York State's going to withhold it. And just hold it on to, and we're going to be able to be getting it in May now. So the hope is that we'll still get it before year end. If not, I'll have to accrue it. But all expectations, we will get that probably the first in the middle of May. So instead of September now, it's going to be May. And I have an item later on dealing with that. Number four, sales tax received from the county this month, which is our first quarter, was $529,089. It's a $45,869 increase, or 9.5% over the same period last year. We budgeted $1.9 million for the year. So this is a sizable jump. I don't know if that's going to be the reasoning behind the increase in the internet sales tax collections. I don't know. I expected I would have seen something in the media by now. Reports from New York State talking about that, but I haven't seen anything yet, so that's surprising. Usually they'll push out those things on the quarter end. So we'll be looking for that to see if there's any reasoning why. Number five, we made the semi-annual interest payment for the water treatment plant upgrade bond, $30,008.25. Made it October 15th. Number six, the GASB 34 statements, the financial statements and footnotes have been completed for the auditors. I turned them into them, so they have what they need to review everything. They're going to be here this week for their field audit work, and then coming back next month for the financial piece of it. So they've got everything that they need, so waiting for them. Hopefully, cross my fingers, there's no big issues. But I have to go back and correct, so if not, well, it's in good shape. Number seven, now the action items. First one is a budget amendment. Police chief is requesting to move $2,000 from contingency to his contractual accounts to cover the cost of the TIP 411 that was approved at last month's meeting.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer.
Second.
Second by Ms. Winston. Discussion.
Is there any way that could be taken out of the asset forfeiture?
I'd have to look into the asset forfeiture for, there's certain stipulations that have to be followed. I honestly can't answer that. To me, like at one point, the cell phone was being taken out of there and it's a reoccurring cost, and that was not an item at one point that could be used. So I don't know, because could be a reoccurring cost, so I don't think it could be. Well, I can look. I don't think so.
Just for some more information, you budget $50,000 each year in the contingency. Currently, right now, it's at $28,668, just so you know, there's the balance of it, which you've already transferred close to half of it out.
Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 3-1. Number 8.
Number 8 is a budget amendment with the restructuring of the AIM payments from New York State. New York State has created new general ledger revenue accounts to track these. So what was a 3000 series revenue account, which signifies a state revenue account, now because of it's going through some actually county money, it's more of a local revenue, so that's why it goes back to a 2000 series account. So the budget is sitting in the 3001 account, and it needs to be moved over to the 2750 account. So I've created the accounts that we need to use to do this. I'm just doing the formality now to move it from one account to another account for the budget piece.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Carver.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lebeau. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9.
Number 9 is the engagement letter from the auditors. So I'm seeking authorization from the mayor to sign a letter of engagement for Safebarth and Safebarth CPAs to conduct the audit for this year, ending 5/31/2019. The estimated fee, they said, is about $15,000, about $800 more than what it was last year.
Mr. Lebeau, second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10.
Seeking authorization for the mayor to sign a letter of agreement with Safebarth and Safebarth CPAs to conduct the annual review of the village justice court's records. There's an annual report that has to be completed and submitted. They've been doing it for a number of years, and their estimated fee is $1,300. That's pretty much stays the same.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lebeau, second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Questions for Mr. Dahl?
Yes, one, I don't quite understand how the state is reimbursing for that money. Are they taking it out of the sales tax on their part of the sales tax or the county's part of the sales tax?
County's part. That's why the counties are pretty upset about it. I think the way it was worded is that there's going to be an expected increase in sales tax revenues going to the counties because of the internet sales, sales tax being collected through the internet now. That wasn't before. So I guess they're expecting an increase there. So they said they're going to take some of that increase and pull it from that money.
Right. Further questions? Thank you. Committee reports. Continuing code enforcement, Mr. Carville, Mr. Lebeau. Economic Development Committee, Ms. Winston, Mr. Lebeau.
We continue to meet, Trustee Winston and I discuss with the branding firm that the town and the village hired, and continues to go well, good dialogue, good concept, so we're excited to see where that ends up landing. And there's a BDC meeting Thursday.
Okay. Fire Committee, Mr. Carville, Mr. Lebeau.
Trustee Leveer and I met with the firemen at the end of last month. I don't have anything to report from that meeting. There's a couple items for later on the agenda.
Just wanted to add that our air compressor is in and the air quality tests have come back and it's all good to go. It's up and running now.
Nice.
Personnel Committee, Ms. Winston, Mr. DeShays. Police Committee, Mr. Carvel, Mr. DeShays.
Talked to the chief, I guess everything's about normal, if you can call it normal, so nothing's been reported this week.
Recreation Commission, Mr. DeShays.
Yeah, the arena's going full blast, it's winter time, hockey's practiced every day. It's great to see the parking lot full down there again. And they've been all kinds of getting, you got all kinds of pee-wee tournaments coming up. They came up, and they call it the Battle of the Border Pee-wee Tournament. And they're from Watertown, Plattsburgh, and you got, who's the other ones? Christina, and Augsburg and South Stormont. And it's busy down at the arena. That's all we got right now.
Street Committee, Ms. Winston, Mr. LeBeer.
Things are growing. Snow came early.
We had a guest last month ask us to look at East River Street, that curve between Walnut and Douglas. The chief looked up some of his data. You want to share that with us?
Here, I did look and under our accident reports, I refined the search. I found one accident that occurred, and it was an individual coming down Douglas, hanging a right on a motorcycle, and it was his operator failure. It was nothing to do with the roadway conditions or roadway. That's the only accident that I found in a 3-year period. I went back 3 years at that location.
Thank you.
So we will communicate with her tomorrow and see where the discussion leads. Water and Sewer Committee, Ms. Winston, Mr. LeBeer.
We have an item a little bit later on.
Initial public comment period. As always, we ask you to please stand, state your name for the record, and do so at the podium. Initial public comment period. Seeing none, moving on. There is no old business. New business, proposed resolution to renew the boiler machinery insurance policy, which will be effective December 19, 2019, for 1 year. This is a $628 increase over the previous year. This is with Travelers Property and Casualty Company of America.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer, second by Mr. DeShays. Discussion. It's a resolution, poll individually. Ms. Winston?
Yes.
Mr. Carl?
Aye.
Mr. DeShays?
Aye.
Mr. LeBeer?
Yes.
Resolution carries. We have a resignation from the Business Development Corporation effective November 4, 2019 from Christopher A. Eric. Incidentally, this is a joint appointment, so the town has to accept it, and then we have to jointly work with them on a replacement. Motion by Mr. LeBeer,
Second.
second by Mr. Carvel. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion, Downtown Christmas Committee funding request. I'll turn it over to Mr. LeBeer.
So I'm actually going to turn it over in just a brief moment to a couple of members in our audience. But trustees, as you may recall, last year there was a group of volunteers working in conjunction there was a group of volunteers that really tried to bring back the spirit of Christmas, as they referred to it. And one of the items that the village assisted with was we purchased the new banners that are on the light poles last year, which were very well received. A lot of positive feedback on those, and they blended nicely with the chamber's snowflake decorations and whatnot. They also put together the downtown Christmas tree lighting event, which had quite a few people there. Just on the horse carriage rides, there was over 600 people. So we're estimating that there was easily 1,000 to 1,500 people there over the course of the 3 hours. So they really did a great job. And at this point, I'll actually turn it over to, I see two of the group members here. I'm not sure who's going to speak.
I guess we're both going to speak. She'll do all the talking and I'll say, yep.
Thank you very much for allowing us to appear. First of all, I wanted to say, as I walked in here, I was thrilled to see this alleyway lighting. That's why I appreciate that. That was one of the things that it was a shortcoming that was pointed out to us last year, that people didn't feel comfortable coming from the parking lots to the main street to enjoy the Christmas. because it was dark and icy and that kind of thing. So I was thrilled to see that the town and the village was able to come through on that for us. We're thrilled also to get an allocation from the town of $2,500 for purchase of another over-the-street decorative,
It's a cross-street banner.
yeah. I'm really not sure what
It's
to
not
call
so much a banner, but
It's a-
lighted or decorations with a snowflake in the center. It'll go right here where the banners traditionally go, and they helped us purchase another one, which hopefully will go on the other end. We're working out those logistics though.
We are encouraging business owners and anyone else that owns buildings downtown to decorate again this
Yep.
year.
And I've already done my campaign of flyers to all the business owners and spoke to many of them. Most have all seemed receptive.
And local restaurants are expected to be open. We're gonna have a food truck down there this year. And we'll also be having cookies and Coke, all that kind of thing. We're expecting to get, I think it's 2,000 cookies this year to make sure there's plenty for everyone. We've asked the PALs to, or we're in the process of asking PALs to help out with the, to man the cookie station again this year, because they got a kick out of it last year, some of it.
So they did a great job.
Yeah. We've sent out donation letters and been very successful as far as having people donate silent auction items this year, so any money that's raised with that will also help us with some decorations. The fire department is going to be offering chicken wings for sale. We're going to be starting a little bit before our event will kick off to get some people excited in downtown, that sort of thing. And my husband and I are business owners. We have a brick building, the shop around the corner, right next to the fire department, and we've offered that wall to put a banner up that will promote, downtown Christmas. So anybody that's coming down Andrew Street, they'll be able to see it there right by the fire department.
Banner pending.
Yes. We're hoping it gets ordered and it's able to get here. And I also wanted to clarify about the food drive, but
Yes, so we worked with the local food pantry, and they will be setting up a giving box, and they've actually asked if those that give this year to give us more non-perishable desserts, because that's what they actually come in short of this time of year. There's not enough non-perishable desserts for the holidays. So that's going to be what specific food drive is, non-perishable desserts, cake mixes, frostings and stuff like that.
so the last thing we'd like to talk about would be the request that we'd like to make for support for the purchase of some more decorations. You were very generous to us last year. We're hoping that you consider it this year. What we talked about as a committee is to purchase 2 wooden nutcracker soldier type figures.
Decorations.
Yes, they're decorations. They're they're 6 feet tall.
Really tall.
Roughly. And they're flat-sided, so they can go up against the wall, or they can be used like in future years in other spots or something too, wherever it gets decided to place them. But we talked about putting them, if they're able to get here this year, on each side of the steps of the front of the town hall. So where the Christmas tree is, where all the performances will take place when the children come to sing, that kind of thing will be, it'll add some more decorations there and make it more lively. They cost about $950 a piece, roughly. We'd like to get 2 of them.
Plus shipping.
And, yes, plus shipping. And that's any other funding that's left over from that. And other fundraisers that we do, we have talked about purchasing some character costumes to add to the fun of interacting with the children when they're at the different rides or that kind of thing, when they go through the carriage rides, or just they're excited about Santa. So.
This is a great event. I'm glad we were all able to get together. This is one of those community collaborative events that, with your support, with the town's support, and of course all the donations, it's getting better every year. So if you will, and if you can, find it in your heart and in your budget. I hear my Shop Local campaign did well in the sales tax, so just put that out there. And we do order this from Syracuse, which is the most local company that deals in this. So I did try to shop local as best I can for this.
So, just to add on to the great input these guys have added, kind of think of this in 2 two segments. There's the downtown Christmas event, and then there's decorating downtown Massena. What we did last year helped with both. You know, it made downtown Massena more festive, more vibrant for the whole season, not just for that event. These wooden soldiers, I've seen the pictures of what they're looking at. It would add to the Christmas decor. And while it sounds like it's just a request for funding for decorations, it really is about community and economic development. You know, the people, I helped them decorate last year, and we had a lady stop from Syracuse
Yeah.
to comment on how happy she was with the decorations we were putting up, that she visits regularly. She absolutely loved what we were doing, and, you know, basically, thank you for being in the Christmas spirit, and it adds to the community.
It's an attraction.
And this group, it's a small group, they've done tremendously well with the event especially. They're getting donations, they're getting the activities covered, sponsorships. I would love to see for us, again this year, to be able to add to the decoration side and purchase these for them. I just think it's, yes, it's $2,000, $2,500 because you need to factor in for shipping. But it's a long-term investment, you know, and there are many people that appreciate what downtown looked like in the past and where it's building back up now, so.
Do we have a predetermined budget for these events? Or would it come from where?
We would move a contingency into the account we paid it out last year, which is the Chamber's account, correct? Or
You do have a publicity,
the publicity account, which
Oh, yeah.
is the same.
I don't, you really wouldn't have to move it out of it. You could pay for it out of there,
Okay.
because it is publicity.
And the chamber has always organized and dealt with the logistics with the decorations and helped with storage with the help of MED and usually DPW or the town board. Not so much town board.
Can't overstate the impact of what we're doing. You can't overstate the impact of not doing it. So for me, it was personal. 3 years ago on Christmas Eve, after a holiday event, an aunt of my wife's that lives out of town called me at about 10 o'clock at night as she had left our family gathering and had said, "What's wrong with your downtown? You have a single decoration down there." So they've gone to work and done a wonderful job. And the event itself is incredible.
It really, if you had the opportunity to go last year, it was awesome.
You know, and this event did help, these decorations do help. With that being said, we've always had, for the last 10, 7, 8 years, the snowflakes, they always went up, but I can't tell you how many people said, I didn't even notice them, until we started doing this, and now they notice them, so they do add that extra impact.
I'm in a motion that we authorize to purchase not to exceed $2,500.
Second.
Second.
To me.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Thanks for everything.
Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work.
Thank you.
I may end up with a budget amendment on it.
No,
Publicity.
too late, you said we could do it.
$5,000 budgeted, but you've spent it for the year already. I'll have to look back and see what you did it on, I can't remember now.
It's probably the screen that we're ordering, maybe more
Yes.
efficient.
I remember the screen being one.
Might be the
I
screen.
think that's the $2,700 one.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I made them bring a resolution to move it out of contingency.
You want to do that now or at the next meeting?
I suppose I'll do it right now, or
So moved.
Resolution to move that money from contingency into the publicity account.
Second.
Second by Ms. Winston. Discussion. It's a resolution, so we poll individually. Ms. Winston.
Aye.
Mr. Carvel. Mr. Shays.
Aye.
Mr. Revere.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
thank you.
If I could, and just one, thank you, but, the banners will be going up this week, I believe, and on top of that, if the public would like to come to my trivia night this Friday, we are raising money to offset costs for new banners for the veterans and active military, to honor them. So people who have veterans in their family and active military, they can sign up with us to get banners put up. We'll be at a cost, but I'm hoping to raise some money to offset those costs to make it as minimal as possible. So we can also have other banners for other times of years. So
And I will, for the record, say the trivia nights are a blast.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you want to be on LeBear's team.
We haven't won yet, but we're really fun.
So we're at 6D, so the resignation of Patrick J. Ferguson, village justice, effective December 7th, 2019.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer, second by Mr. Carvel, discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Pat's been a great public servant. We're going to miss him as justice. So we wish him all the best in his retirement. So announcement, I have an appointment. So pursuant to Village Law 3-312, the mayor has appointing authority for vacant terms. So I am appointing Diana C. Dufresne to village justice effective December 28, 2019. F, discussion on water rates. I'll turn it over to Mr. LeBeer and Mr. Fayad.
So trustees, as we talked about last meeting, we're at that point in the water fund where typically a look at water rates is mandated or required. The last water rate increase, I believe we discussed it in 15. We didn't do the full increase that was warranted based on the calculations. We tend to try to keep an increase to every 5-6 years, was at least the rationale we used back then. We didn't do the full increase. We looked at some cost saving opportunities as well, and we actually were able to get it to last, even though we didn't do the full increase for 4 years. But the fund is supposed to be self-sustaining, and as you have seen from the budget reports over the last few years, we're on that dip in the cycle where the surplus is being used up, and we're coming to the point where action needs to be taken. So we worked together looking at what would be needed, projecting forward, and as you can see with the revised proposal that was in your bins, if you look at the first 3,000 gallons, I'm looking at C, the first rate schedule, we'd be looking at an increase for the rate per 1,000 gallons from $3.95 to $4.70. And then you can see all the other numbers are in there for the other tiers and for the other rate schedules below. I don't know if the superintendent wants to speak to this, but this not only would put the water fund where it needs to be for the coming year, but it should be, barring any unforeseen spikes in expenses, enough to get us through a good period of time, another 4 or 5 years. Superintendent, do you want to add to that?
Correct, yes, absolutely. Like trustee had indicated, our last increase was in 2015, and we're coming to the end of that sine wave cycle where we're using that surplus. Our fund balance is approaching a relatively lower level. We're going to be using about $400,000 this year to balance our budget. And then we'll have a remaining projected balance of about $340,000 in that fund for next year. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to deplete that fund balance that following year. But since our last increase in 2015, the DPW performed a lot of infrastructure upgrades. You know, we've accomplished 8 pipe bursting projects across 37, State Highway 37, 2 down on Main Street, on South Main Street. We've had numerous capital project improvements, the installation of the water plant, intake piping upgrade, a number of pipe replacement projects in our system. We have 1 more pipe bursting project to do on East Orvis Street at Bailey Road, and 2 more river crossings. And the reason why, the river crossings are the ones on George Street, and there's one behind the Olds. The reason why I want to attack these capital projects is once we're done with those capital projects, then the entire system at that point can be handled with, 90% of it can be handled in-house. We don't have to go out and get subcontractors to do this, to do our work for us. So that was my thoughts behind that by going after these capital projects. So as trustee had indicated, our sine curve is coming to an end, If we did nothing today, with no increase at all, then we're looking at, in 2021, a fund balance of about $60,000, which is not a lot. So, and then the following year, we're looking at a negative $260,000. So, like he had indicated, it's a 5-year stint, 5 to 6 year progression out there. Now, these numbers here do not include any capital projects, if you will, or any catastrophes, or something should happen. I know that eventually we're gonna have to replace the filter stones in the water plant, which is the big ticket item, it's $500,000, but we can phase that in over a bond period of years, but nonetheless, these numbers do not include that, but, with an increase of what we're just looking at, and we increase it hopefully in January, if we did that in January, we could project, that balancing the budget for the next 5 years, up till 2004, 2005. So our fund balance will be adequate to handle the customary expenses going forward, barring any catastrophic events that we might have out there.
So it goes to 2024, 2025.
That is, 2024, 2025, we're looking at a negative fund balance, so you probably have to increase it in the
Year before that.
23, 24 year.
So, I mean, no one likes an increase of any kind. Good news is this would still keep us well below state average. It would still keep us as one of the lowest cost municipal water rates. And most importantly, the work we continue to do with this fund has kept our system in superior shape. And when you look at some of even the neighboring communities and the trouble they're having with their water system, you can't afford not to do the proper maintenance in the projects, because you may save short-term, but you pay dearly long-term. So that's why I'm recommending that we move forward and establish a public hearing to move forward with this proposed rate increase. It's too important of a resource and system for us not to have the proper resources, and it's not a lot down there that, yes.
Mr. LeBeer, I might add that the projection that we're looking at will be a difference for those of us that are in the village of Massena, a monthly difference of $2.25 a month. That's what we're looking at.
Right.
For residential. We're out there in the township, it's $2.37.
Right.
Which is not a lot, but it's.
Right. No, any increase hurts, so I get when people.
Understood, but you brought up a good point too. I did a little study in regards to the big 5 communities in St. Lawrence County. The closest one that we can come to, we pay, right now, currently, we pay $11.85 a month for our minimum bill. That's 3,000 gallons minimum bill. The closest I can come is $26.09, and that's the village of Potsdam. The others are above that.
Yeah.
So I think we've held our position very well for the years.
And the comptroller has some great data on water rates on their site as well, and we are still, would be very, very much in the range where people would wish they had our rate structure. But again, any increase has to be taken seriously, because we understand for some, every dollar is going to matter, but this is the minimum that we felt would be appropriate to get the fund balance to where it needs to be long-term.
So the idea would be to schedule a public hearing in December.
Yeah, I would say I'd move to schedule a public hearing to amend and adopt as outlined.
So it'll be December 17th,
5:30.
5:30. Public hearing. We have to be specific now, though, for the legal write-up, so it's everything's on the sheet, correct?
Correct.
So those are the revisions from the water clerk.
Nothing changed in rate schedule C other than a space, but there were some data corrections on the cumulative, if you want to look at that. Figures that we said are still the same. These are in the mock-up of what the bills look like.
Would be.
So these are all still the same. That's
Francis? You got the same thing?
So time-wise, looking at the calendar, if the public hearing was held December 17th, by the time we adopted it, filed it, we'd probably be looking at an effective date around February 1. So. So let me read those aloud so we're clear. And the media, you don't have to write these down, we'd be happy to provide them to you. So we're proposing
So these are all based on this.
off of this number.
Yeah, those are just examples.
Exactly. So water used in any calculated month, so proposal is the first 3,000 gallons going from $3.95 to $4.70. The next 17,000 is proposed to go from $3.35 to $3.99. And in excess of 20,000, proposing from going $2.60 to $3.09.
And that same percentage was used for the other two rate schedules, that as you'll see on your copy.
The next 17, it was 335 to 399?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And again, we'll provide you for this full document, so for your peruse. So that's a motion from Mr. Lemire to establish a public hearing on the 17th of December at 5:30.
Second.
Second by Ms. Winston. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Proposed resolution, G, proposed resolution authorize 2-year agreement with Massena Fire Department, Inc. for fire protection for 2020 and 2021. Any comments on that?
We changed the dates.
We'll change the dates, no changes. Have a motion?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Lemire,
Second.
second by Mr. Carwell. Discussion? It's a resolution, poll individually. Ms. Winston?
Aye.
Mr. Carwell?
Aye.
Mr. Deshaies?
Aye.
Mr. Lemire?
Aye.
Motion carries. H, proposed resolution, authorize lease agreement with Messina Volunteer Fire Department, Inc. for lower basement of the premises at 34 Andrews Street.
This also was just changing the dates,
No
keeping the
change.
terms the same.
Motion by Mr. Lemire,
Second.
second by Mr. Carville. Discussion. It's a resolution, poll individually. Ms. Winston?
Aye.
Mr. Carville?
Aye.
Mr. Deshaies?
Aye.
Mr. Lemire?
Aye.
Resolution carries. H, we have proposed resolution, authorize intermunicipal agreement with the town of Messina for court officer services. This also is no change.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lemire, second by Mr. Deshaies. Discussion. It's a resolution, poll individually. Ms. Winston?
Aye.
Mr. Carville?
Aye.
Mr. Deshaies?
Aye.
Mr. Lemire?
Aye.
Resolution carries. J, authorization to conduct surplus sale at Department of Public Works. Mr. Fayad.
Yes, throughout the years, we generate a lot of salvage items down at the DPW. They're from all the departments, basically, police and fire and DPW. But what I'd like to do is periodically we come to the board and request permission to go ahead and surplus sale the items that are outside that are not attractive, that they offer us no value anymore. We've cabbaged as much as we can off of them, and the other item the other items that might be salvageable might bring us a better dollar, but we can no longer use it. For instance, the sewer jet body. We bought a new sewer jet, but the body from the old one We took it off the cabin chassis, converted the cabin chassis to a sander, but the kind of the box itself, we'd like to salvage that or sell it, liquidate that, and try and generate some revenue for the village.
Mr. LeBeer. Second by Mr. Carl. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Proposed resolution, accept proposal from ACE, American Insurance Company for volunteer firefighter enhanced cancer coverage renewal. This is the same cost as last year, no increase.
Great. So
Moved by Mr. LeBeer,
Second.
second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion. It's a resolution. We'll poll individually. Ms. Winston is absent. Mr. Carvel? Mr. Deshays?
Here.
Mr. LeBeer? Resolution carries.
Aye.
Counselor Wentz?
Did I miss it?
Counselor Wentz? Counselor Wentz?
That the voucher signed by trustee Carvel and myself, and the mayor be approved.
Second by Mr. Carvel. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Monthly reports, you have the volunteer fire department for October 2019, as well as the permit firefighters and code office for October 2019. Communications and correspondence, a reminder, we have a special meeting on December 10th at 5:30. This is for the final report from CGR for the Massena reorganizational study, which will be presented to the town and village boards jointly. Memos went out this week, the board department budgets that are due to me by January 6th. So the department heads, of course, are already reporting out their budgets. Anything else from trustees' correspondence? Closing public comment period. As always, we ask you to please stand, state your name for the record, come to the podium. Seeing none, questions from the media?
Is the York study open to the press?
Yes. Yes. Great. We do need executive session. One is for the proposed acquisition or sale or lease of real property, and also pending litigation. I do not anticipate that we will take action. Mr. LeBeer? Second by Mr. Carmel. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
You too.